favorite was Jimmy Canoe and Tyler too.
I was there, but I thought John Tyler was a fortunate vice president. Talked to Harrison about that, so I blew in the face.
Frankly, Roosevelt had one in 1940. It was better a third term than a third grader. And I thought that was an effective slogan as well.
The 1940 campaign, 2 times are enough, yeah. Let me just respond to something that says that I don't think it's inappropriate to have a dialogue and think outside the box. I'm a little bit less sanguine than his conclusion. You know, the private sector brings the entrepreneurial genius that keeps the mainspring of America operating. But they're far from perfect. The crowd on Wall Street, private sector. Do you recall the debate that we had a little over a year? Let's privatize Social Security. Is there anybody in America? Think about that. Think about the implications of that. So, I mean, there is a role for government. I used to say in a previous century when I was involved in the policy-making position that I think that the best is a public-private sector partnership. So there are some things that the public sector does very poorly. There are some things that the public sector, I think, does very well. And I think part of the dialogue that's occurring here is this period of time where we demonize government. I think Obama and I think the American people are prepared to embrace a role for government. The gentleman, as Sig points out, debating what the scope and the parameters of that. We don't want too much, but quite frankly, I think too little does not always serve our best purposes. And that's a very legitimate debate for us to have, and at the state level as well. And let me commend my friend. He has indicated that more revenue is needed. There is just no question about that. And Sig's credentials as a member of the party of Abraham Lincoln would be unchallenged, but we do need additional revenue. For far too long, and I've been part of this discussion, as most of us who grew up in Nevada, it was always, let's see if we can't get the other fellow to pay for the taxes. Can't we put more of this on the tourists? Maybe we don't have to pay anything if we can get them. I think we're going to have to face up to the reality that if the essential services, including this very campus that we're on, our university system, our K through 12, those are essential and legitimate services that are provided by government, by public, and they need the resources to do the job. And in my view, the future of our state is far less bright than it ought to be unless we provide the additional revenue to take care of those and other essential services. And the key to that, whether John Ralston originated that or not, he might very well have, is a fellow that's done so much for this campus, and that's Senator Bill Raggio. That's where the focus is. If it's going to happen, and I think it can, he's the one that can make it happen. And if he's on board, I think we're going to see some things happen. And you know, there is, just to say a little bit more on an optimistic note to this thing, there is a confluence of opportunity here. I happen to think that some of the criticisms that are directed at a retirement system in which I am a part of, in which I benefit as an old pensioner, I am a member of the public employee retirement system. Make that disclaimer. Changes are needed in that system. And maybe the great or the grand compromise, which could not occur but for the dire economic times that we face, is to get some of the reforms that are needed in that system part of the package together with the additional revenue that the state so vitally needs. I think that there's a glimmer of hope to do that. Maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I think there is an opportunity. I think there's a leadership in the legislature that can do that.
I do too. I was going to suggest one other thing too, and that is that the university shouldn't be told what to do. The university should tell the legislature what they feel comfortable doing. There are synergies between these two campuses called UNLV and UNR. I don't think they have to be independent universities across the board. There are certain things that just should not be down there, and there are certain things that probably shouldn't be up here. There should be some kind of continuity here that builds and streamlines campuses to save some money. Another thing that galls me is government now is going to talk about, across the board, going to 4-day work weeks. I think that's all well and good. But that doesn't mean Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and all the government shuts down on Friday. A lot of people in this state that works 24 hours a day, that's kind of the essence of the way we are here. I think another group of employees should work Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So you never have a day that's shut down in government when people can only afford to get there. So when you go in the legislative process, we talk about, and we may do it, shutting down the state for one work day a week. It doesn't mean that across Nevada we're shut down on Fridays. It means you stagger the terms so that every day has a work day available to people. In Henderson, in North Las Vegas, you can't do business on Friday. You can't do business on Monday. What kind of nonsense is that? What about people who work and the only day off they have is Friday? So when you craft the bill, 4 days for one cycle and 4 days for the other, but you cover every day of the work week. And so I think that's a good way of getting at solving people's problems as opposed to.
Because you reminded me as we came over, the last guy to get his work done by Friday was Robinson Crusoe.
I want to close with my favorite slogan. This is the campaign of 1852. You remember this day?
Indeed.
It was Franklin Pierce, and his theme was, "We poked you in 44, and we'll pierce you in 52." That thing kind of set the stage for these campaign slogans. You remember that for Senator, don't you?
Oh, Franklin. And Miller Fillmore, too. James Buchanan.
No, he was a heck of a guy off work, though, I'll say that.
It's getting late. Gentlemen, really, it has been a privilege to have you share your views with us. Would you all please show your appreciation? Please do.
I don't know about you, but I feel like I've spent an entire college education at the feet of the masters. Really a special moment. And one of the great things about being associated with the UNR and the Reynolds School is the ability to get just remarkable speakers like the two that we've had. Quite an evening. Let us thank them one more time, and Rob and Joyce also. And with that, good night, and thank you for being here. Bye-bye.
There we go.
Nice job.
Thank you.